Live from inside Porsche, Colorado Springs, it's the First Dibs podcast with our hosts, John Deisty and Justin Underwood. Buckle up and let's go for a ride.
I think we're live now.
I think we're live.
So,
okay.
Let's turn this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks to you for joining us on the podcast and on YouTube. We're here for kind of a special episode.
Yes.
Extra episode. We're here with Joe Brenner. He is the GM of our store, Porsche Colorado Springs, and just got back from a really cool adventure down in Chile. So I think we've got kind of a cool exclusive thing. Look inside some of the Porsche news that's happening on this side of the world.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
And First Dibs podcast, for those of you that don't know what you're watching or listening to. Come check us out. We talk about new cars. We'll be back tomorrow. Anyway, so the trip, Joe got to go on kind of an adventure with Romain Dumas and a team from Porsche, trying to set a record for summiting, driving the farthest up a mountain that you can.
Correct. Yeah, it was the highest altitude that a vehicle has ever been driven to.
And what was that, like 21,000 feet?
Yeah, it was just over 22,000 feet.
Yeah.
Wow. The previous record that was held by a team of two Unimogs actually that had driven up the same mountain. I guess that there's not too many mountains that are of this magnitude that you can actually drive a vehicle up to any level. This mountain happens to be one that has some shallow enough grades that you can drive and winch your way up to super high altitudes. And in our case, we actually made the summit.
Nice.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, no,
so that's it, right? We're done.
So we're good. Yeah. So I mean, where was this? This is in Chile.
Yeah. So central Chile, there's the Atacama Desert, which is kind of the most desolate, dry, kind of isolated place I've ever been. It's really there's almost no life there. It's rocks and sand and ice and wind. And there's no insects. There's no just basically it's kind of like a lunar landscape or Martian landscape. It's actually there are teams that go there to practice, doing space type rovers as well.
Wow. Yeah. And then, so, I mean, obviously we've been talking about this since you got back. Let's just call it yesterday. I mean, this is super fresh.
Yeah,
right?
super fresh.
You shaved?
I'm still tired. Yeah, I did shave.
Right.
And I don't smell anywhere near as bad.
Right. Right. And the boots are actually not here, but they're in the dealership. Like boots that you wore that have the lunar dust and stuff on them. And,
Yeah. That was kind of something cool that I was able to bring back with I actually got all of the whole team to autograph my boots, which was kind of fun.
Yeah. Well,
how'd you get roped into this whole thing?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, obviously I've been friends with Romain for more than a decade, I think. First met him in 2012. He came to race Pikes Peak, and we helped him here at the dealership with some logistics and parts and things like that, and some space. For working on his car. He brought a GT3R for the first time, and that year he raced and he lost by 17 1,000ths of a second, which is like a coat of paint, and he lost to Reese Millen in a Hyundai Genesis, and he was so mad. He was so pissed that he got that close and lost, that it just like infected him with this Pikes Peak disease where he had to come back and win. And of course, obviously fast forward to today, and he's the fastest man who's ever driven up Pikes Peak. But he and I have been friends ever since, and we have a lot kind of common interests and things like that. And we just, had a good relationship over the years. This year, he wanted to go do the incline, which is, the world famous incline in Manitou Springs. And I took him up there, and we went and hiked up the incline. And in the process of doing it, we were just talking about all kinds of things, about his life and motorsports and so on. And I think I'd asked him what the most challenging thing he'd done or the most interesting thing he'd done. And he said, he's done all kinds of races, but this project in Chile was, because a year ago they'd gone there and attempted this, more to do some research, I think. And there was snow and ice, and they really didn't get that far up the mountain, but he was exposed to all of this kind of harsh environment, and he told me that was the probably the hardest thing he'd done. And then I saw him again at Rennsport, and we're high-fiving and having fun, and I asked him about Chile again, and he looked at me and he goes, "You should come." And I'm like, "What do you mean, come?" He goes, "You should come. Just come with." He goes, "You'll love it. It's miserable." And I said, "Yeah, okay, that sounds like my kind of suffering." So we worked out the details, and of course he was serious, and I was serious. And on I think November 19th, I flew from Colorado Springs to Copiapó and met him and the team, and that's where the adventure started.
Mm-hmm. That's. It's cool. It's super random. Like, Joe,
yeah.
I think you should come do this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay,
who cares about prepping?
Right.
You know, you'll just be at 22,000 feet. Who cares? You're fine. You're in shape.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
At this point,
great.
Romain knows that you ride bicycles,
Yeah.
and you obviously know how to climb hills because the incline is no joke.
Oh
right?
yeah, no, it's like 2,600 steps or
it's a struggle.
something, and it's hard. Yeah.
And then the next thing is he's saying, "I want you to come help me put a car at 22,000 feet elevation."
Yeah, yeah. I was certainly nervous. I've never done anything like that in my whole life before. I mean, obviously, I've been up Pikes Peak. I've ridden my bike up Pikes Peak and all that kind of stuff. But and that's 14,000 feet, which is
still a long way,
right?
Yeah. Of course, it's some elevation, but it's not 22,000.
No,
right. Mm-hmm.
So it was very uncharted territory for me.
Is this also something that Porsche wanted to set out and do?
Yes, absolutely. And as I understand it, Frank Walliser, it was his initiative really to put this project into motion, and they started. And I probably get the year wrong because I think it was 2018 or 19 that they built the first car. So Porsche built a car, and it's the red and black car, and it's called Doris is its name, and they built this special car with this special suspension and portal axles and all this kind of really neat equipment. And that they did take the car there, and again they weren't wildly successful. It wasn't widely publicized, but they did go there. They did some research, and then I think COVID kind of came. And they did eventually. They partnered with Romain Dumas and RD Limited to build the second car. So actually, RD Limited did build the second car.
Okay.
The car that made the summit, and it's slightly different than the car that was built in Weissach. That just a different componentry, a little bit different placement of the cooling system, and there are a few differences. But the biggest difference was that Romain was able to build the car quite a bit lighter. In his process, they ditched the aluminum underbody protection in favor of Kevlar, and went with like GT3 cup doors and a lot of things that were able to, I think, give the car a little bit better chance at performing.
Sure. They're impressive, right? The photos, and I know John's got some photos that he'll be able to kind of flip through. Maybe.
Yeah, we can do a slideshow.
Yeah.
Well, so I kind of quickly made a list of some questions, that I'll run over. But so like we very quickly touched. I mean, you've ridden your bike to 14,000 feet, but how did you prepare for this event?
Well, I was super fortunate, and just as fate would have it, I sort of reconnected with a really good friend from a little while back. A guy named Don Bowie, who's I like to call him the world's best hiker, but in reality, he's like a world-class alpinist, and he's been to every significant 8,000 meter peak in the world. And Don was very, very generous with his time and his knowledge, and he really helped me prepare physically, mentally, and kind of gave me kind of a program, so to speak, for the run-in. I unfortunately had an injury coming into it because I had broken my ankle 4 months ago, and so I was struggling with figuring out activities that I could do because really like running and hiking were not really on the menu for me yet. So a lot of it came down to cycling and rowing and doing some stuff like that so that I could still get the cardiovascular preparedness that was needed without aggravating the injury that had already happened. So I definitely would say Don Bowie, just that was a huge help for me. And then I have my friends who I'd go out and ride bikes with and train with. Paul Stanton and I went and did some high altitude hiking, and Woody and I went and rode bikes. Right. And it was good. It was kind of a group effort to get my semi out of shape but into shape. So.
Right. Yeah. A common friend of ours, Jesse Adamy, as he would say, OTC, off the couch.
Yeah, that was somewhat off the couch.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. Because I remember you talking to us about sleeping in your van.
Yeah. So my friend Kalen, he lives up in Woodland Park, and for a couple of nights before I left, I went and I just slept in his driveway because he's at like 9,000 feet. So I had my little my sons wanted to go do that, so they slept in the van with me.
Wow.
And I found out that my heater in my van doesn't work that high, so we got to
even better training,
share
right?
some good training and body heat management there.
Good time, good stories for the kids.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's super cool. Well, I mean, you kind of also talked about, but the surface itself, it sounded super interesting because you were talking when you got back about you had to dig your feet into the hillside.
Yeah, it was. Ojos is an interesting mountain or volcano because it's like volcanic ash. There's some reasonably established trails, but really where we were working, there isn't really a trail. You just have to kind of kick your foot into the side of the hill. It feels a bit like snow or gravel, and it's on a very steep slope. So to make vertical progress, you really have to make a platform for your foot to stand on, and sometimes it's you had to kick it in there 1 or 2 times before you'd have something you could step up on.
Wow.
So that presented its own challenges for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you were even riding a motorcycle.
Yeah. So one of the key players in the whole effort was a guy named Jiri Zach, or Jerchi Zach. He's a police officer in Switzerland in his real life, but Romain had met him and contracted him to be kind of a scout for us and help us find the perfect line and how to approach the hill. And Jerry, he's got like all kinds of world records for altitude with motorcycles, both 1-cylinder and 2-cylinder, and the guy's just an absolute animal. He's a beast. Mm-hmm. I think I told him he's my spirit animal, and but what he does is incredibly dangerous. He rides enduro bikes up at 22,000 feet, which it sounds like fun and games until something goes wrong.
Sure.
I mean, something simple could go wrong, and he could be in a world of hurt.
Right.
But I got to ride his bike up about 18,000 feet in sand, and that was quite a blast. So
that's pretty sweet.
That definitely a great memory there.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about the service, John, is it an okay time? Could we do some slideshow stuff?
There we go.
Just, and Joe, if you don't mind, just kind of as we're looking here, if you can describe a little bit about what we're able to look at.
Yeah, sure. So this picture here was one of the camps that we did. So that the outfit that oversaw the process was called High Altitude Experience Latin America, and it was run by a guy named Guillermo and his crew. They'd arranged for different camps where we would sleep at different increasing altitudes. This one was at a customs checkpoint, and it's kind of in between Chile and Argentina, but it was it was very rustic, let's say. Yeah. It was So there was we were doing some working out here. You can see the team here. having we ate all our meals together. The team that Guillermo had, our cook was a guy named Celio, and he was from Peru, and the guy was lights out, awesome. Like every meal was
That's
spectacular.
a clean plate. Yeah, very clean.
Yeah, no, that I have to say that we were well fed and very happy. That's a bunch of well fed people. This was the VIP lounge. Romain and I like to. So all the other guys were staying in tents, and we were the prima donnas who slept in a very luxurious. No, it wasn't. It was the worst, most dilapidated piece of crap like RV you've ever seen in your life, and it was called Le Chateau. So we would sleep in Le Chateau, and it was very bad. But that was our experience there.
What a scene!
Oh yeah,
It's just like you say, it's another world. You could be on the moon or on Mars.
right.
Yeah,
It just looks completely different.
completely different.
Yeah.
How high up are you at this point?
Yeah.
That was at the main camp where we stayed, which was about just a hair under 15,000 feet, and that's where we lived.
Yeah.
We lived at above
Pikes Peak.
above Pikes Peak. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's wild.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a shack.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
that is.
nice.
This was home for about a week and a half. Some of the guys stayed. Some of the team stayed here in this. They call them refugios, and some of the guys. So the kitchen was in there. Those stairs got a lot of use, and that's where guys stayed. We were on the other side over by the cars, and then there was some guys in some tents as well.
How cold is it at this point?
Believe it or not, like during the day, it was quite warm. I mean,
Okay.
there were days where I walk around in short sleeves,
Yeah.
and it was probably
Because it's summer down there.
yeah,
right
it's
now, right?
40,
Or just
yeah,
coming
40,
into-
50
yeah.
degrees, no problem.
Yep.
But the minute the sun went over the hill, it was extremely cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely got cold.
One of the pieces of the write-up had mentioned minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. No, that was that was what it was up high. When we did make the assault on the summit, it was like that, and it was probably the coldest I've ever felt personally.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's blistering
Yeah.
cold. So, and here there's a shot. Is this the first time you're seeing?
Yeah. So we didn't see the cars for like, I don't know, it was 4 or 5 days, and I was starting to get depressed. I wanted to see
Right.
I wanted to see the cars. That was,
Right.
obviously a big reason why I was there was because I'm a fanatic about these cars, and so when they showed up, it was really quite a shot in the arm for everybody. I think everybody got, felt excited, and Romain included, and you can see they're here unloading the cars, and to my amazement, they just rolled them out with ramps. There was I'm so used to our race cars where you
Yeah.
have to get
Right.
70 pounds of lumber to get the last millimeter of clearance for the splitter, and these things just barfed out of the back
Yeah,
of a
you can almost
storage
just-
container.
Throw it in reverse and floor it.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. What a sight.
Yeah, the cars are really spectacular. They're
gosh.
just something special. They are the cars. The things that really stood out to me about them is one that I think I sent John a picture of the VIN number of one of them. They started out as cars, like as
Yeah, it's a C4S, right?
It's a C4S.
Yeah.
It's a 991.2 C4S. It started out as a regular old car. It was a press car, and they saved it from the crusher, and so what you're looking at, the car that has achieved this world record is a 911. It's not some like custom one-off blah
Right.
blah blah. It's I mean it certainly has a lot of neat kit on it, but it down underneath it's the same as the cars we buy and sell every day.
Right. So I was just talking with a guy this morning about so seeing something like this in person has to be so amazing. In my relation, I guess, would be seeing a new GT3 RS, not just sitting here stagnant on the floor, but seeing it in motion.
Right.
Seeing your client pull off, the lot in it or whatever. When you see it moving, it's so cool sitting here on the floor when you're seeing it in person. But then when you see it move away, there's just like this totally elevated. Man, I mean, that's even way more badass, right? And I have to imagine that seeing these up close in person and driving one, you got to drive one.
Yeah. No, I did. They're really they're very special cars, and not only do they come to life just by their own being in motion, but when they're in this stark environment, they really become like everybody says, they're like outer space lunar rover kind of concept. And the way that they can move over the earth, watching the suspension articulate over all of the big bumps was just really incredible to see.
For sure, yeah. And people keep mentioning the video or picture of watching Romain, like just send it and just launch one.
Yeah, he did. That was at the final assault there of the peak. So that was pretty neat.
Holy moly! Look at all that.
Yeah. So what you're looking at there is a company called Schaeffler who makes the Space Drive. It's a drive-by-wire system that this car was equipped with, and the drive-by-wire it basically allowed them to custom tailor how much power assist they wanted. So this is not. I know that the Tesla Cybertruck is one of the first cars that has a drive-by-wire in production, but this car. Edith, which was the car that made the Summit, did have the Schaeffler drive-by-wire system, space drive system already.
So that's
in use.
steering, throttle, brakes.
No, just steering.
Okay,
just steering.
So incredibly precise.
Yeah. I didn't actually drive this one, so I can't speak from experience, but I could tell you that Romain seemed, pretty impressed with the system.
Good. Yeah, that's good. Holy cow, yeah. And then did you have kind of just, were there some days where you're just practicing with the car?
Yeah, exactly. So for the first few days, we would go out in there was a nice bluff kind of behind us that had a 45-degree hill on it, and we would go and practice winching. So we had a very special winch that was installed in the car from a company called Giggle Pin, which I guess they're in England, and they make like the best winches in the world or something. And this winch was unbelievable. It had 2 electric motors and a clutch, and it was a pretty advanced winch, and that was pretty instrumental, I would say, in making this goal into a reality. It was it was a beast.
So you just bury an anchor in the dirt?
No, so we had these big about 4-foot pieces of heavy gauge angle iron posts that we would go and like pound them into the ground, and then use rocks too. So straps with rocks, and then they were also on the final, like the game day. This team of professional Swiss mountaineers. They were unbelievable. We had a drill, and they would actually drill belay points into the rocks. So
wow.
This was a very technical effort. It was not we didn't didn't mosey on up there.
right.
Fill it with gas and drive it up.
Not quite.
Right.
Not quite.
Yeah. And then you also had training days as far as just the mountaineering side, just the hiking side of it.
Yeah, exactly. So the mountaineering side of it, again, that was, obviously I've been on, my fair share of hikes, but not at these kind of altitudes. So there was, the team was, I can't say enough about how impressive this team was. We had 3 Chilean mountain guides. We had 4 guys, professional mountaineers from Switzerland, and these guys are like guides at Chamonix, and they've done all kinds of, very accomplished in their field. And these guys walk up and down mountains for a living all day long, every day. And they were just so incredible to work with. They're just, I can't even tell you, like, the strength that I saw. It really, just redefined what I thought was possible that human beings can do at 22,000 feet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you made the A team.
Yeah, I was. It was funny. I came there as Romain's guest, and these guys. I was kind of an outsider for a little while there. They didn't really know what to think of me, and I kind of started out just doing whatever I could to help out. I would, pick up trash and stack dishes and do whatever I could, and then one day we had one of our acclimatization hikes, and I kind of jumped on the heels of the main mountaineer, Claude was his name, and we walked for, I don't know, a good 3 hours and looked around, and there was nobody behind us for quite a while, and then when it came time to make the final plan, they had claimed me to be a workhorse and not a spectator. So that was an honor, and
Right.
I'm very grateful that I got the opportunity to actually help with the effort and not be a spectator.
Right. So they figured out quickly, oh, we're not going to have to drag this one up the hill.
No, my job was to carry ropes and to move ropes. That was, primarily what I was transporting kit for getting the car to the next challenge. The real battle for the mountain started at about 21,000. It was really the last 1,000 vertical feet that was the the main challenge for the team. Getting the car to the glacier, which is at 21,000 feet. That was, I don't want to say it was easy, because it wasn't easy, but it was, the car was mostly driven there. So it wasn't, we didn't have to drag it there. The last 1,000 feet is where it gets very steep, very loose, and you're dealing with the high altitude and hypoxia and all this kind of stuff. So that's where it really, really got interesting. I would say that, if you were to look at the division of how much time was spent, it was, your time per foot of ascent was very, very much slower toward the top, of course.
This picture reminds me, any mechanical issues on the way?
Yeah, the only real mechanical issue we faced was a front differential, and I did get to help assist Remy, our mechanic, in swapping some parts around to make the differential work again. So we kind of swapped some parts around on both cars to make one working differential, and then we had a backup one coming to Santiago, so that we would have a backup. But working on a car, underneath a car at 15,000 feet with 30 mile an hour dust blowing in your face and all that kind of stuff was a challenge as well. But again, it was just the resilience of the team. I think everybody had a hand in trying to figure out the problem, solve the problem, and move forward. And we ended up with a car that performed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You just reminded me of something that Johnny Lieberman said, I think on our show, maybe, but it was, I've never met a dealer principal or a GM, and I know a lot of dealer principals and GMs, but I don't know another one that would be willing to lay under my trailer at 2 a.m. in the morning to strap my car down. And that's you remind me of like that. So your experience of here at Pikes Peak Hill Climb, was coming in handy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I've actually, I mean, I've seen a similar situation with Jason on our yellow race car. I've seen that front diff in and out, and I understood kind of even Remy's English isn't perfect, and I don't speak any French, but we kind of made our way through it together. And he is this kid. I got to say, this kid, 22 years old. He's worked for Romain for 4 years, and the kid's an absolute ace. He's just as good as it gets. He's worked on 4 different Dakar teams, and the guy's a absolute ace.
Right. Yeah. No, that's it. Well, I guess that's a good point. So, I mean, as far as the crew, how many mechanics and how many mountaineers?
So the crew, again, this is a very, very small team.
Right.
There's a driver, Romain. There's me. There's Remy, one mechanic is all. That's it. Wow. Just one mechanic. There were two guys from Porsche. Jens Kaiser, he's the head of 911 and Boxster. He's the product manager for those 2 lines. And then Sven, and I'm sorry, Sven, I can't pronounce your last name. And he's a suspension engineer with Porsche. So there were two representatives from Porsche. There were 3 Chilean guides, and then your Swiss team consisted of Claude Alain, he was the main Swiss guide. Then you had Freddie. Then you had Mika. Those were the 3. I mean, these guys were just workhorses. They were unbelievable. Seeing these guys handle ropes and stuff, it blew my mind. I mean, they're just they knew every technical rope knot thing in the whole wide world. And then we had 2 doctors. We had Pierre and Mark, and they were awesome. And they also helped out, but they were there just in case something bad happens. Sure. And of course, they did I'd say a good job scaring the crap out of me. They were, they make you well aware of all the dangers because it's, people do get hurt at those kind of altitudes. So, no, they looked after us really well. So we had the docs, and then of course I have to say I've made a new friend named Nico Myra, who's a videographer out of Vancouver, and he and I were the only 2 North American guys, and so we were we hung out quite a bit, and I actually got to help shoot some of the video. So
that's right.
In the 60-second spot that Porsche's promoting right now, I actually shot some of the video with my GoPro out of the window of Romain playing around in the sand. So
that's awesome.
So I got to help out with
Right.
not just getting the car up and repairing a car. I get to help out with some video footage as well.
Right. That's very cool. Is there anything on the slideshow that you've got, John, that holy moly, look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
You're right. I mean, that's like standing on the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
Look at that.
Oh, dang.
How did you sneak that in there?
Well, sometimes those stickers, they just show up everywhere.
Don't worry. Nobody from Porsche actually watches this.
Yeah, right. We won't show them.
Oh my gosh. Team meeting, getting ready to head out.
Yeah, this was gathering at the top of one of our acclimatization hikes. So it's kind of a team meeting in process where we were planning our ascent there. That was cool. I got a nice shot of Romain with his Pikes Peak Race to the Clouds neck buff there.
Awesome.
I think it's really neat to point out that Romain is not only the fastest man ever to climb Pikes Peak, the most prestigious hill climb in the world, but he's also the driver who has taken a vehicle to the highest
Right.
that it's ever been driven.
highest
So
driver.
he's like the double mountain king, I would say. So
Right.
that's a kind of a great accomplishment.
And look at how good he looks.
Yeah, right. He's a hell of an athlete.
in
This guy
shape.
is.
Right.
He takes very good care. He takes his fitness really seriously. He runs marathons and stuff
Yeah.
like that. We didn't get to bathe a whole lot, so we smelled real bad. But there was one little freshwater river that was about 35 minutes away, and we would go and we got in that a few times, and that was as close to clean as we could get.
Right.
It's a manual?
It's a manual.
Wow. Look at
Wow. Right.
It is a
something
manual,
here.
7-speed manual. This thing had some really cool stuff. It has a rear camera because obviously you couldn't see out of the back. The radiator was mounted in the rear compartment there.
Yeah.
It's got the manual transmission. It has a 1.3 to 1 gear reduction in the T-Boost is the name of the company.
Okay.
Did the portal axles.
Okay.
So that was the way that they achieved such good low gear ratios. First gear was really like good for maybe 8 or 10 miles an hour. That was about
Right.
it.
Yeah. It's the opposite of the what everybody complains about with the GT4.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
We
the
need
top
to do this gear set.
I think the top speed in this car was all in probably 60, 70 miles an hour.
Sure.
So not something you'd want to go cruising down the highway in.
Right.
That's an odd rock formation.
That is. So this was something kind of curious. I took a picture of it. It was at a place not far from where we were called Laguna Verde, which is a saltwater lake that's one of the most just stunning things I've
Yeah,
ever
you can
seen.
see it in the background.
Color.
there.
Yeah.
And this cow, I was told, is he's been there for like 50 years, and I guess back in the days they would walk cattle up there for a food source for miners, and this guy had just been hanging out. It's a weird looking cow there. It looks when you approach him, it looks like he's looking at you.
Side eye. Yeah. Looks like some people have had some jerky too.
Yes.
Got a little hungry.
Yep.
The gift that keeps giving.
Indeed.
Thank you, cow.
Yeah.
There's Romain
Yeah.
doing his. Here's the glacier, so you can kind of get an idea of what the glacier. It's a sheer ice on one side, and then one side's got a bit of snow. But this is again just the landscape. A lot of the stuff that really looks like snow is actually just sand. So it's not the bright white is snow, and the rest is going to be kind of this ashy looking sand. But it's this was part of the way that Yurchi had found for the car to make a safe ascent up to the glacier.
And how active is the volcano?
I don't know. I was sitting up there for a very long time, and I watched, and you could hear the little. It would release volcanic gases or whatever, and I sat up above the crater, the main crater for many hours waiting for the car, and you could actually hear and see the steam coming out of it. It was very impressive.
Yeah. Wow. That is really cool.
There's Romain. He did a big hike, and he was pretty caved in after that. So he was.
That's him resting.
That's him resting. I sent him that picture, and he posted that on his social media. Said he was training. I was like, okay. There's me, hanging out on Yurchi's bike.
Oh, yeah, the videos keep showing guys riding on the side of the car.
Yeah, so that was part of the strategy, was that we put some guys on the car. That was one of the doctors rode on the car, and then Nico actually rode on the car. We wanted to make sure that we had somebody capable of getting to the summit that would to document this. And so Nico rode on the car so that we could make sure that he got to the summit, so that we, didn't make it up there and not have photographic evidence. So
right.
With the whole trip was like debating what we needed in terms of GPS evidence for the folks at Guinness. So Guinness, Book of World Records has very, specific and strict requirements about what you provide them in terms of evidence to claim that you have this record. And to be real frank, that the GPS units they're not that accurate. Like the ones we were using anyway, they would vary day to day. You could take the same unit to the same place, and it would read, several meters higher or lower or whatever. So that was giving us all a lot of anxiety, because, the Unimogs had pulled to whatever their number was. And we were like, well, what if we get to that number? Or what if we get higher than that and it reads lower? And so everybody was in a kind of a little bit of a state of anxiety about this whole situation. But we knew the knockout punch would be just put the damn thing on the top, and then we won't have any issue. So we were very fortunate that was the case. This is a team from Switzerland, and they are called Peak Evolution. And strangely enough, I don't want to say it was a race, but it sort of felt like one. These guys were there on the mountain trying to achieve what we were trying to achieve at the same time. And very different approach. They had kind of the Unimog looking vehicle, but it's all electric. They were able to recharge it using this solar array that they would lay out. Awesome guys, very cool effort, very cool machine. And I as far as I know, they're still on the mountain. I think they're still there, and they're still figuring out if they can get there. But yeah, they were. It kind of added a little element of surprise for me, because I didn't think anyone else would be out there. But believe it or not, there was. Yeah. I mean, BMW Motorrad was out there, or Pirelli was out there with some bikes, and this high altitude kind of achievement is something that other manufacturers and other facets of the business are seeking. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty fascinating to see a giant truck like that, because to your point, Romain's car was so much lighter. I mean, talk about a different kind of strategy, or maybe just a totally different kind of wrecker, or who knows.
Yeah.
But to see a massive truck trying to do the same thing for this.
Yeah, and battery powered too.
Yeah.
So that's not light.
Car.
Yeah.
Right.
I understand these guys actually already have the high altitude record for an electric vehicle based on where they've just been, where we saw them. So it's just a really cool effort, and we'd certainly wish them all the luck, and hopefully they can get that thing and put it up real high.
Yeah. I love that spare tire on the cab.
Yeah, their tires were beast. That thing was so cool to watch it go across the sand, because it just floated right on top of the sand the whole time.
Yeah, very cool. That's a neat effort.
Was heat management an issue at all? Like, I know what at the top of pikes they always talk about.
Yeah,
but maybe you're going slow enough where you're not making all that heat.
You're not making quite as much heat, and there's no like need to run continuously. You can let the car back down to idle and just let it cool off. So again, we didn't have a time limit. We're not trying to beat a certain time or anything like that. We were just, if the car were to get hot, we would just let it cool down. But the car had probably double the cooling capacity of a stock car anyway. Mm-hmm. So cooling was not really a concern at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very cool. God, is that even in the Porsche font? The Porsche.
Yeah, Edith. Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Everybody.
Yeah.
Climb on.
Yeah, everybody climb on and take a ride down.
That's pretty awesome. While we're strolling through. Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's there forever.
It's there. I hope for a while anyway.
That is amazing. That there's people walking up to that building right now saying, "What?"
Yeah, yeah.
Who are these guys? And seeing all the gear and some safety gear.
Yeah, these carabiners were like ridiculously heavy, and it was funny because they don't look that heavy, but they were super heavy. But keep in mind, like that's what was carrying the weight of the whole car.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. We were pulling it with all of this kit here, and it was this is very heavy duty stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Any scary moments for either you, the car, something?
Not really. I will say that being that high for me, there was two different occasions where I felt like I had done a little more than I should have.
Okay.
Pulling rope and moving some of the equipment. At 22K, I felt like maybe that was, I needed to manage my effort a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it was super scary. It was just, I could feel like, I'd never been to these kinds of altitudes before, so I just didn't know. You don't feel quite right, but you don't know where's the line where I need to do something different. So I think that was,
Are there supplements you can take up there? Like, I'm not a doctor, so don't take baby aspirin at altitude.
Yeah.
And don't listen to anything on the show if you're looking for medical advice.
Right.
But like, baby aspirin's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And
no, that I took aspirin. There are supplements, but really it boiled down to just managing your your breathing and just keeping, like Don Bowie told me, he's like diesel mode. Don't exert, don't go into the red. Once you go in the red, you're done. Like you cannot go in the red up there because you ain't coming back. So it was all about just keeping it very low tempo and just keeping it under control.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I like that diesel mode.
Yeah,
I like that. That makes sense to me. And then seeing that the picture that you just had there with all the signatures of everyone that was there to accomplish it. Did you make some special connections?
Oh, absolutely. No, these guys are friends for sure. I mean, we I think this kind of project, when you kind of, I don't want to say suffer together, but to some level you suffer together.
Right.
It definitely, these guys, just like I said, the quality of individuals was outstanding, and that this wouldn't have happened without the team. I mean, it was Yuri's going to come out and ride dirt bikes here. And,
okay.
And I know I've got some friends in Switzerland, and I'm sure we'll hire Nico to come film something for us.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, it's something that, I don't think this effort will ever be replicated, and we all got to be kind of be part of it, and I think we'll be friends forever.
Right. That's an amazing scene.
That is an amazing scene. That was Romain described it. What happened to me? He basically said there were two rocks, and he had to pick which one he was going to hit and launch off of. And he went left, and he said it was just kind of a full send moment where he's like, this was the final push to the top, and this is probably, I don't know, 100, 200 or 300 feet from where the car came, ended up at the summit. So this was the last bush. This was the luxurious chateau, the chateau, which I think Romain paid X amount of dollars to rent. I think he could have bought it twice for what he paid to rent it. But we're literally driving back to Copiapo, and the left side of it just came off at 50 miles an hour, and we had to get out and find some tape and some bungee cords just to put it back together. Good. But we did have a blast running down into Copiapo. There's very technical descent off of the mountain passes, and I have Romain sitting in the right seat calling out pace notes for me, and I think we dropped the pickup truck behind us, which was pretty awesome. So we were rally driving the car down, so that was pretty cool.
I'm sure he took the insurance. So they
of course, yeah. Had to have had the insurance.
Yeah, there's the boots.
Yeah, the boots. Yeah. The boots. Mm-hmm. Yes, the local company here, Mountain Chalet here in Colorado Springs, had helped to kit us up. And when I got these boots, I thought they were completely ridiculous. I'm like, on what planet would I ever need these? And when we got there, like we were kind of doing these acclimatization hikes at lower elevations, and I thought, I don't need these boots. This is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to the game day and 6,000 meters and all this kind of stuff, it became very apparent that those were in fact the right boots. So yes, 20 and 30 below zero.
I like your footwear choice here.
Yes, I went full hippie Fred Flintstone or something. This was when we brought the car back down and we were kind of getting all of our pictures taken, and so I had the slides with the oversized socks. So
right. In your previous picture, John, it was the license plate, and I'm thinking, when I first see that, I'm like, that's awesome, right? He's brought back a license plate from a car, and then someone tells me like that came from the dump.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We were sleeping the first couple of nights in a pretty I don't know. Let's say it wasn't the most scenic place. It was kind of a garbage dump.
It's super cool.
And I found a license plate. Nice souvenir.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's super cool. I would like, so I happened to walk into the shop last Saturday, or not this, maybe it's the previous one. Anyway, and Jason was back there. And I said, what are you doing? And he says, trying to fix a differential for Joe. So Jason, I mean, what to me, I thought that was a super awesome thing, because you're all the way in South America doing this incredible adventure, but you've got people in your life that you can rely on, like Jason Schmidt, right? It's Schmidt Built, right? He's willing to look up and see what he can figure out and see if there's anything he can do to help. So big shout out to Jason, while we have this here, but, is there anybody that you really want to thank for?
Well, I think, for me, first and foremost, my family, like my wife and my kids, like for understanding that this is just one of those once in a lifetime things. And Don, obviously for allowing me to participate in this and do this. But when I signed that car, I signed it, and next to my signature says PCS, and that's because of all of the guys and gals who work here, and that's our family at Porsche Colorado Springs. Because that I kind of feel like I wouldn't be there without you guys, and that's that's the truth. It's just right. It's you guys are I wanted you guys to be represented on that car and that effort, because again I wouldn't be there without the folks here at Porsche Colorado Springs.
Well, that's a good trade-off, because we wouldn't be here without you.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. Yep. True story. Yeah, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, but, and then would you ever do anything like this again?
I'd do it again tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah, what
awesome. Do you got?
Right.
Right. Romain and I actually are we're working on some more wacky adventures. So we'll hopefully stay tuned. We'll get to do some more goofy stuff together. I don't know that we'll get to do that exact adventure, but we're talking about trying to collaborate on some other stuff. We get along super well. I think it just spending two weeks in an RV with a guy, you get to know him on a different level. And Romain, he's my level of admiration for him went up quite a bit. I just to see how that guy works. There's a reason he has been as successful as he is. But then in getting to know him as a human being too. I mean, he's he's a dad who misses his kid, and he's a husband who misses his wife, and he's and he's a guy trying to make his way in the world, and it was really neat to know him as a guy, and then to see him work. I don't think I sent you a picture, but the way he attacked the problem to get this as a team leader, he identified the main challenges, broke them down, created a plan and teams and guys, and he gave everybody a job. He really made everybody feel like important and empowered to be part of the solution, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, it was eerie how focused this team was, and how they just would press on through whatever we encountered. It was inspiring.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, I'm inspired by it.
Yeah.
John, you got anything else?
I'm headed to Chile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it.
That's
I'm going
pretty
to do it in
sweet,
my
man.
Crocs.
Yeah.
That's or is that what those are?
I think they're UFOs. But
UFOs.
whatever.
I'm going to do
Same
it. I'm going to
difference.
do it in my UFOs.
UFOs, Crocs,
Yep.
whatever you got.
That's pretty awesome.
The other interesting aspect that I thought was really, really smart and neat for our future with internal combustion engines too is that we burned the e-fuel, the HIF
Right.
e-fuel. So that was kind of neat aspect of the project where I think that the environmental side of it was that we were driving a 911 up a mountain, but we also were using a synthetic fuel that has a zero carbon offset. The fuel is a little bit different. It smells a little different. It smells kind of like the closest thing I could think of was like contact cement. Not that I sniff glue a lot, but
Hey, I love that.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
Do a lot of arts and crafts here.
a lot of arts and crafts. But
Yeah.
but no, it did. It smelled a little different, and but the car didn't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the whole thought behind that fuel is that you can put it in any car and not really make any modifications.
Right.
Do you know if they had to, like, what kind of modifications they had to do to the engine just for the altitude?
Really, not much. I mean, it was kind of like what we do here at Pikes Peak, which is kind of maybe
Lean it out?
tune the turbo speeds a little bit and stuff like that. It was really minimal modifications. The car was not, outside of the warp drive suspension, it had a transversely connected suspension system that was pretty wild, and then portal axles, obviously, to give it a lot more ground clearance. But beyond that, the car was just stunningly stock. It really was not
So crazy.
It was not some wacko crazy Frankenstein car. I mean, this car was, not only was it recognizable from a body shape standpoint, but if you got in it, you're sitting in a 911. It was a stock 911 tub.
Yeah. Wow. Super cool.
That's wild.
Incredibly impressed. So,
Well, thanks for taking the time to hang out. And
Thanks.
share
Thanks
that
for
with
having
us.
me.
It's,
well, congratulations on being part of a world record.
Thank you.
And obviously, we look forward to seeing what the next big adventure is going to be.
I promise there'll be one.
all right.
For sure. All right.
Sounds great. For Porsche Colorado Springs and the First Dips podcast, I'm John.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Joe.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you next week, or actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow.